The boardroom at Hartley Industries had witnessed 40 years of family politics, but nothing quite like this. I sat at the far end of the mahogany table, watching my brother Christopher adjust his Italian suit and clear his throat with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no in his entire life. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," he began, his Princeton-polished voice filling the room, "we need to address the elephant in the room regarding the CEO succession. Our father, William Hartley III, had announced his retirement 6 months ago. Since then, the company had been in a quiet civil war between two heirs, Christopher, the golden boy with the MBA and the golf handicap, and me, Samantha, the daughter who apparently existed solely to fill diversity quotas. My sister," Christopher continued, not bothering to look at me, "while adequate in her current role, simply isn't executive material. Let's be honest here, we all know why she's at this table." Board member Richard Sterling shifted uncomfortably. "Christopher, I don't think." "Please, Richard, let's not pretend," Christopher laughed, that country club chuckle I'd heard my whole life. "Samantha is Daddy's diversity hire, female executive, checks a box, looks good in the annual report, but running a $4 billion manufacturing empire? That requires more than a participation trophy." I kept my face neutral, fingers steady on my portfolio. Inside, 20 years of rage simmered. "She's emotional," Christopher counted on his fingers. "Soft. She wastes time on things like employee wellness and sustainable practices. She doesn't understand that business is war. You need a killer instinct, not a bleeding heart." Margaret Chen, our longest-serving board member, frowned. "Christopher, your sister has been with the company for 15 years. "Yes," he interrupted, 15 years of pet projects and feel-good initiatives. "Tell me, what has she actually contributed to the bottom line?" That's when I smiled. "David," I spoke for the first time, addressing our Chief Information Officer, "could you pull up the revenue attribution analysis we prepared?" David Kim, bless him, had been waiting for this moment as eagerly as I had. "Of course, Ms. Hartley." Christopher scoffed. "Really? A PowerPoint? How very middle management of you, Sam." The conference room's massive display flickered to life. The first slide appeared, revenue attribution by executive, 2019 to 2024. "What is this?" Christopher demanded. "Facts," I said simply, "those things you seem allergic to." The graph materialized. A green bar shot up, dominating the chart. Hartley, 78% of total revenue generation. The room went silent. "That's impossible," Christopher sputtered. "There must be a mistake." "No mistake," David said calmly. "Ms. Hartley's division, which includes our Asian markets expansion, the digital transformation initiative, and the sustainable manufacturing arm, has generated $3.1 billion in revenue over the past 5 years. "The Asian markets expansion?" Board member Janet Moore leaned forward. "Christopher, didn't you tell us that was your project?" Christopher's face reddened. "I oversee." "You oversee nothing," I interrupted. "You take credit. There's a difference." David clicked to the next slide. A red bar appeared, pointing downward. "See, Hartley, minus 12%, net loss, $480 million. Gasps rippled around the table. "Those numbers are manipulated." Christopher stood up. "My initiatives." "Your initiatives," David continued, "include the failed European expansion that lost us $200 million, the revolutionary supply chain system that we had to scrap after it caused 3 months of delays, and let's not forget the Harrison Industries acquisition." Harrison was a strategic. "Harrison was bankrupt," I said flatly. "You bought a bankrupt company for $180 million because the CEO was your fraternity brother. We're still trying to untangle that mess." "I'd like to see the data behind these numbers," Richard Sterling said carefully. David clicked again. Spreadsheet after spreadsheet filled the screen. Contracts with my signature, deals I negotiated while Christopher was at lengthy business lunches, markets I'd opened while he was golfing with clients who never materialized into revenue. "The Tokyo manufacturing deal," Margaret Chen read aloud. "That's generating $500 million annually. Christopher, you said." "He said he closed it," I finished. "He was actually in Cabo. I flew to Tokyo, spent 3 weeks in negotiations, learned enough Japanese to show respect, and closed the deal." Christopher showed up for the signing photo. "That's a lie." Christopher's composure finally cracked. "I was the one who." "Who what?" I challenged. "Tell us exactly what you did, because I have emails, thousands of them, including the one where you told me to handle that Asia thing because you had a tea time." David pulled up an email thread. There it was, in black and white, Christopher's dismissive messages. My response is outlining strategy. His final reply, whatever, just don't embarrass the family. I also have the recordings, I added quietly. The room froze. What recordings? My father asked. He'd been silent until now, watching his children destroy each other with the detached interest of a man who'd built an empire on such conflicts. Every meeting where Christopher took credit for my work, every time he told investors about his brilliant strategies that were actually mine, every conversation where he called me Daddy's diversity hire behind closed doors. I pulled out my phone. Would you like to hear them? That's illegal, Christopher shouted. One-party consent state, I replied, and before you ask, yes, I had legal review them, just like you taught me, Chris, always protect yourself. David clicked to another slide. Employee satisfaction scores, retention rates, innovation metrics, every measurable indicator of leadership success. Your division has 94% employee retention, Janet Moore read. Christopher's has 31%? People don't leave companies, I said, they leave managers, and they leave Christopher in droves. This is a witch hunt. Christopher loosened his tie. You've all been planning this, it's a conspiracy. No, I corrected, it's a spreadsheet, several. Actually, you'd know that if you ever looked at one instead of delegating everything to whatever assistant you haven't driven to quit yet. Speaking of assistants, David added helpfully, should we discuss the harassment settlements? Christopher went white. Those were confidential. 3 settlements in 5 years, I continued, totaling $4 million. Daddy cleaned those up too, didn't he? Just like the DUI in Singapore, just like the insider trading investigation that mysteriously disappeared. Samantha, my father warned. No, Dad. I stood up, matching Christopher's height in my heels. You wanted succession planning? Here it is. One child who built 78% of your company's value. Another who lost $500 million playing CEO. The math isn't complicated. She doesn't have the relationships. Christopher desperately pivoted. The golf club, the networks. The old boys club? I laughed. You mean the one that's been hemorrhaging relevance for the past decade? The one that thinks business still happens on golf courses instead of Zoom calls with Shanghai? David clicked once more. A world map appeared, dotted with flags. Ms. Hartley speaks 4 languages fluently, he announced. She has direct relationships with executives in 47 countries. She's invited to speak at Davos. Forbes called her the future of American manufacturing. Mr. Hartley plays golf. I went to Wharton, Christopher's last card. I went to MIT, I countered, on a full scholarship, while working nights to pay for Mom's cancer treatment. You went to Wharton because Daddy donated a building. The boardroom fell silent except for Christopher's heavy breathing. Richard Sterling cleared his throat. I think we've seen enough. Should we move to a vote? Wait. Christopher made one last attempt. She's unmarried, no children. What kind of image does that project for a family company? I laughed, actually laughed. There it is. When all else fails, remind everyone I'm just a woman who forgot to have babies. That's not what I chose to build this company instead of building a family. You chose to build neither, unless you count your wine collection and your golf handicap. I motioned to call the vote. Margaret Chin announced, all in favor of Samantha Hartley as CEO? One by one, the hands went up, every single board member, even the ones Christopher had spent years cultivating on golf courses and in cigar bars. All opposed? Christopher raised his hand alone, pathetic and defiant. Motion carries, Richard Sterling announced. Congratulations, Ms. Hartley, or should I say, CEO Hartley. Christopher stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is a mistake. You're all making a huge mistake. She doesn't have what it takes. When this company fails, sit down, Christopher. Our father's voice cut through the room like a blade. Everyone turned to William Hartley III, the titan who'd built this empire from nothing. Did you think I didn't know? He asked quietly. Did you think I was blind to what my children were doing? Samantha built this company's future while you were stealing credit and playing executive. I gave you every opportunity, every advantage, and you squandered them all. Dad. You're not fired, he continued. That would be too easy, too kind. You'll report to your sister. You'll take the position she assigns you, and you'll learn what it actually takes to run a company. I won't. You will, I interrupted, because despite everything, you're still my brother, and I'm not you. I don't destroy people for sport. You'll run our North American logistics division. It's failing, 12% efficiency below target. Fix it, and you'll have proven you can do more than talk. Fail, And you'll prove everything I said today was generous. Christopher looked between us, his father who'd finally chosen merit over blood, his sister who'd just offered mercy he'd never have shown, and a board that had seen him for exactly what he was. I'll sue, he said weakly. Discrimination, hostile takeover, something. With what money? I asked gently. The trust fund you've already spent? The salary from a position you just lost? Or were you planning to ask Daddy for help again? He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The boardroom exhaled collectively. Well, Margaretchen said after a moment, that was illuminating. David, I said, thank you for the presentation. Board members, thank you for your trust. Dad, I looked at my father, thank you for finally seeing me. He nodded once, a lifetime of unspoken words in that gesture. Now, I continued, let's talk about the future, the real one, not the fantasy Christopher's been selling. We have factories to modernize, markets to capture, and a company culture to rebuild. Who's ready to work? As the board leaned in, eager and energized, I thought about all the times Christopher had dismissed me, every meeting where he'd talked over me, every idea he'd stolen, every achievement he'd minimized. Daddy's diversity hire. Maybe Dad had put me in that first position partly because he needed a woman on the team, but I'd earned everything after that, every promotion, every success, every dollar of that $1 billion in revenue. And now, I had the thing Christopher had assumed was his birthright, the company, the title, the power. But more importantly, I had what he'd never have, the respect of the people who mattered, earned through competence rather than chromosomes. The meeting continued for hours, planning the transition, discussing strategies, building the future. Christopher's empty chair sat there like a monument to mediocrity, a reminder that privilege without performance is just expensive failure. Later, as the board filed out, Richard Sterling paused at my shoulder. You know, I always suspected the numbers didn't add up with Christopher's claims, he admitted, but those statistics, 78% versus -12%, that's not just a difference in performance, that's a revelation. Numbers don't lie, I said simply, people do. Your brother's going to make this difficult. He's been making my life difficult for 34 years, at least now I'm getting paid appropriately for dealing with it. He laughed, CEO humor, you'll do just fine. As the last board member left, I stood alone in the boardroom where I'd been dismissed, diminished, and disrespected for years. Tomorrow, it would be different. Tomorrow, I'd sit at the head of the table. Not because I was the daughter, not because I was the diversity hire, but because I was the one who'd built nearly 80% of this company's value while my brother was building his wine collection. The numbers had spoken, the board had listened, and for the first time in Hartley Industries history, merit had trumped masculinity. My phone buzzed. A text from Christopher, you'll regret this. I typed back, the only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. See you Monday. Don't be late. I hear the new CEO is a real hardass about punctuality. Then I blocked his number. I had a company to run, and I'd already wasted enough time on men who confused their privilege with competence. The diversity hire was now the CEO, and the numbers? They didn't lie. 78% versus -12%. Some material just can't be executive.